global ecosystem. That if you have to drive maximum value, then you have to be global. That is very important. Right now, the Indian tech startup ecosystem continues to be the third largest in the world. We can't say that in the foundation of India, you just study here with over 9,300 tech is very large. So 9.3, it's very and to India. According to the recent NASSCOM survey, yeah, that was because it's not reviving the Indian tech startup during COVID. So as per this NASSCOM survey, 54% looking to pivot to new business opportunity, and 40% want to diversify into growth verticals like healthcare, edutech. 50% enhancing focus on emerging tech like AI, IoT, and cloud. And he asked from the government, this is very much important, access to working capital, easy compliance, and fiscal policy and funding support. So I think this is very much required for any startup to flourish in any country, but especially this is asked as per the NASSCOM survey report, startups from the government. Integrated central state initiatives on procuring made in India startup products and solutions. This is also, they say that for Atmanirbhar Bharat, we call it in India, self-reliant, it's necessary that their developed product be bought from the state government and central government, wherever there is government issue, and ecosystem to help drive collaboration, market access, and naturally to make them global, take them global. And that's why we have our one friend from UK also who will be covering this aspect, that how India and UK can both work together. The potential for tech startup can be gauged from the participation. This is one of the example I am sharing. That in fact, DOT launched one scheme, that is 5G hackathon. Our purpose was to just shortlist 100 5G workable solutions. I was expecting about maybe 500 applications, but to my surprise, we have received 1024, 2 to the power 10 exactly applications, and they are all 5G workable solutions. So there is a lot of potential in startups within India in the new technology. Once I am saying 5G, 5G means not 5G, 5G means 5G enabled technology. All are so AI, IoT, healthcare, edutech. It depends upon all, even drone also, because there are 10 verticals of 5G hackathon, and it is 1024 applications covering those 10 verticals. As we know that I think we spend less on R&D, that's a subject naturally. R&D and IP creation both are linked to each other, and there will be a series of maybe this webinar on the subject, specific subject on R&D itself. Our today webinar is focused broadly in two parts. First, by Ministry of officials and experts, and we have brought the right officials from Ministry. Like, let me share Professor Chandni Raina. She has been professor at Center for WTO Studies. She is expert on the subject, and I know her personally. She is a champion in IP part. So IP policy of India, she has been negotiating from India at the global stage also on IP. Same with Mr. BP Singh. He is also a authority. He, I think, served his entire life on the development of patent and design. So he is also a authority on the subject. Mr. Satish Kumar, he is from Office of DC, Deputy Commissioner MSME. So he will be sharing with us a lot of his skills for SME and startups. And one more, Dr. Ajay Garg from IT. So he has passion in this field, and I am sure that he will give you a lot of initiatives on tech startups. Dr. Nick, CEO and International Collaboration Consultant, Unconventional. I would like to welcome all these participants, and with this, I would like to hand over the mic back to moderator for taking it forward. Jai Hind. Mr. Anurag or Bimal, please take forward.
Thank you, Mr. Pathak. So now let's go to the next important speaker for the today, Mr. DP Singh, Joint Controller of Patents and Designs, retired from the Indian Patent Office. He will give you the IPR from the government perspective for the benefit of the audience. Thank you, Mr. DP Singh. Please take on.
Mr. DP Singh, please unmute yourself.
Once again, namaskar to you all, Madam Chandni, other distinguished speakers and delegates. I was requesting the moderator to allow the screen sharing, please. Today's topic is very interesting, and I'm thankful to the organizers, particularly Dr. Pathak, to rope up so many people who are very keen and who have given their valuable service to IP world. In India, we are administering 6 different forms of IPR: patents, design, trademarks, self-reliant, semiconductor IC circuit layout designs, copyright also is now, and the fortunate part is that earlier this was in different looked after by different ministries. Now it has been brought into the same umbrella under DPIIT. Many people put IPR importance thereof for startups, for others, for other entrepreneurs, but this particular aspect which I want to just share with you is the economic significance of it. I have studied the data taken from World Bank, and this data was basically for 2018, in which the patent filing from different countries, I analyzed Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Germany, etc., India, and Korea, United States of America, etc., and found that the Indians are filing this World Bank figure, not a figure from the Controller General's annual report. So maybe on calendar basis may have some discrepancy here and there. About 12,000 applications, 16,000 applications from Indians, as against 33,000 from foreigners. The revenue, that is the receipt for the use of IP in million US dollars, India gets about 785 as against payment of 7,900 all. This means there is a deficit of nearly $7,000 million per year. So this is, many people may put economic significance of IPR in a different fashion. Many people may promote that we should go for registration, may not go for registration, but here is the chance that if we do not energize ourselves, do not activate ourselves, do not utilize the government funded research institutions, the whole capacity and capability of them, the dream of talking to you about, that various countries have been analyzed. And in case of India, you can see the big histogram of China, you can see in front of your screen. But once it comes to the economic value and the generation of economic value from there, you find that the China, because of its quality, maybe that they are just in quantity, they are filing more patents, granting more patents. But if it comes to generation of revenue, the figure is not that encouraging. But in the case of India, in case of USA, you see, they are earning $128,000 million against payment of $56,000 million. Who will be richer comparing this? So many people will talk many things on IPR, but this is the actual fact, and these figures are from World Bank indicators taken from very recently. So in recent past, you must have seen the government initiative, though we are working. It was my proud privilege to work with Madam Chandni, as she was director of DPIIT then. And though the efforts have been, we have put efforts right from beginning to achieve this goal as on today. But the recent developments which India has taken is the adoption of the national IPR policy in May 16. The policy had 7 objectives, and all the objectives are being taken care of by different government agencies at present. And you may recollect Honorable Prime Minister telling in 106th Science Congress that the slogan given by then Prime Minister Mr. Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan was furthered by Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji as Jai Kisan, Jai Jawan, Jai Vigyan, and now another segment has been added. So then what is that segment is very important for all of us, for all our fraternity, that is Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, Jai Anusandhan. So now what is that we are doing, we are talking is the this slogan is coming from the Prime Minister himself. This means how much keen the government is for promotion of or the creation of IPR. So as Dr. Pathak was mentioning, the promotion, the creation, protection, promotion, and then management. This is the steps that way we have to go. And if you look at the objectives in the fashion, first is awareness generation. Once you generate awareness, then the IPR will be generated. Just see the second objective. The third objective is to have proper legal framework to protect those generated IPRs. And then there should be some balanced administrative mechanism by the as the service is presently provided by the Office of CGPDTM. Then comes the commercialization. Once you get the right, you have to acquire the commercial value of it, commercialization. And once you enter commercialization, there will be some rivalry, so enforcement of the right. And then of course the general human capital development all around, so that we can maximize the human resource. So this is, you just see, it is seriatim, the objectives are also framed that way. And all the government organizations, different government organizations are joining hands to achieve these objectives. It will be proper to quote this, the Global Innovation Index 19. You just see we started the journey from 2015, if I quote, from 81, 66, 60, 57, 52. This means there have been a lot of things being put in to achieve this. A lot of ingredients are there which are considered to for evaluation of these rankings, and India is at 52. Further will grow because the developments are going. Here is ease of doing business. Once I say so, I do not claim that ease of doing business rankings are solely or purely or only depending upon IPR or management thereof. But certainly IPR also plays certain role. And look at here, it is 142 in 14, 63 in 2019. This is not end here, though the pyramid is shown like that, but it's not end here. It is continuing. The recent initiatives, if you think by the government, basically I can divide them into 4 parts. Amendments of patent rules, and once the patent rules are amended, mind it, this is not for whims and fancy. It is for providing better service to the amendments of patent rules are always viewed to give better benefits to the general public. Like there was no provision for transfer of the patent application from one patent office to other patent office, because the human resource used to be transferred physically. Take a case of biotechnological example is available at Chennai. The files are piling up in Delhi. We could not have done anything than to transfer that particular person here. But we took an initiative in 2013 onwards, and we did a pilot project. That pilot project, I was lucky enough that it was carried out by, I was one of them to superhead that pilot project. And then after successful achievement of that pilot, we have spread across. And today, in the time of pandemic, this is a big challenge for IP offices across the globe. India is very comfortably placed because of the initiative we started way back in 2007. 2007, we foresee that the online filing should be given or should be made available to the applicant. The full circle came into 2014, 13, 14. But during this pandemic time, the people in Government of India Patent Office are working from home. This is something which could not have been imagined but for the help of electronics. The process re-engineering also goes simultaneously. The way the rules are amended, the internal working got to be got to be re-engineered, so to say, so to suit the laws, so as to suit and give much benefit to the public. I'll give one example here. There are different steps, several steps, but due to possible time, we may not be able to elaborate that. But one thing, providing video conferencing to the public. The filing was there, but there was other lacuna. The video conferencing was not made available to the people. Now, if the video conferencing was given we started taking case, the person is available in Hyderabad. He used to go to Chennai office and then talk to controller in Delhi. The government took initiative and we have re-engineered our process. Now, anywhere a person is sitting, he can interact with the controller at all the 4 locations. So virtually it is one office at one location. I would like to explain one thing. Different countries are giving certain concessions. We are lucky that the delegates from UK also is listening to me. Other countries are giving concessions on e-filing. If a person is filing electronically, he is given concession otherwise in some incentive. But in India, thanks to the policymakers like Dr. Chandri Narayana and many others like that, in India we took a different view. We have done electronic filing as default filing and then levied or charged extra additional fee for obvious reasons, because the paper document is digitized, etc. 10% excess fee. And mind it, this is a small step of not giving concession, rather charging extra on physical filing or offline filing, yielded the result that today about 95% plus cases are all filed electronically in India. Next step was, though everything was in place, but human resource was not there. We had about nearly 180 examiners in 2015 March, and really it was very handicapped situation that in spite of doing everything, we were not able to deliver the public in a time-bound fashion. Government has recruited about 460 examiners. Today we have nearly 650 examiners. The controller's strength was also increased to about 250 today. ICT infrastructure, India is, again, it is a proud moment to share with you that when I was in service, I just superannuated only in December, but when I was there in service, we have initiated the first time the use of Internet of Things, AI, and blockchain also. We have given the advertisement, the job has been already awarded. People are working how this public technology could be used for further faster delivery of the and further faster processing of the patent application. So this is not very many countries. It's something some landmarks. You can just imagine. I have already narrated to you. The scheme on for startups. Basically, the government of India started a scheme for facilitating startups in intellectual property protection, popularly known as SIPP, which gives about 50% rebate in trademark fee, 80% rebate in patent fees. It also gives the leverage for expedited examination. It gives the facility to the startups. The facilitators are that way registered. They are the facilitator names for patents, designs are all mentioned in the website of CPDTM of DPIIT also, I believe. And those facilitators are helping these startups to file their IP applications. Mind it, the startups are only supposed to pay their official fee. The fee for the professionals, help of the facilitators are paid by Government of India. One glance from 2016-17-18 annual reports of Controller General Patents Design Trademark. For startups, you see the request for examination was received for startups and for applicants who have chosen ISR, though these two categories for examination has been extended in the latest amendment in 2019 to various other categories. The women inventors have now facility for expedited examination. The government funded research institutions have such facilities. The countries entering into certain collaboration with India, such as Japan, which has entered into BPA very recently, and also approach for expedited examination. This is the trend just to show you that how the applications filed, particularly in patents, examined, granted, and disposal in this 4 to 5 years. And see the histograms have all increased, indication thereby that the manpower, the investment done by Government of India has not gone futile, rather it has yielded better results. This figure is only up to 17-18 as per the latest annual report available on the website, but this figure has further gone up as per the information which will be made public very soon. This particular slide I wanted to show you that this will be useful for the startups. Startups are not only to protect their IPRs, but also to see that they are not going to infringe somebody else's right. So these are the patent in force. So these figures are given here. The details thereof can be taken from the Government of India CG Patents website, and in the relevant field of technology, whoever is working can have access to these patents which are in force. They can have, if they want to take license, etc., they can take license. Other patents also which are not in force can be accessed there, which can be freely exploited. So this will be a great help to the entrepreneurs. The main issue which Dr. Pathak has pointed out, and I also feel that I have again analyzed this figure from different countries and World Bank indicators. See India's histogram 0.82 as against 4.29. This is the expenditure percentage of GDP in R&D institution. India is 0.82. The figure is little old, but it is not changed drastically, so it gives you the larger picture. So yes, I do feel there is a need for further investment, and certainly Government of India has given lot of incentive, the tax rebates for the startups, etc. Every I think you are all aware. So notwithstanding the lesser expenditure presently on R&D, the patent filing from all government funded research institutions, though I have not included in this slide, but are not very encouraging. So this means there is a need for.
Can you summarize?
Yeah, I'm on it. So there is a need for further improvement, and with this I give you thanks for giving a patient hearing. Thank you so much, and namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for a very you can say detailed presentation and a lot of information for the startups. We now request Ms. Chandni Rana, Economic Advisor at DEA, to please give a perspective on IPR. Thank you. Ms. Chandni Rana, the floor is yours.
Organizers for speaking. I would take this opportunity to thank the organizers for inviting me, and I would also want to thank Mr. Pathak, who I've been associated with him on the issue of IP and TSDSI for I think a very long period of time, and thank you also to Mr. BP Singh for saying such kind words. We've been working together since 2008. So that's a long innings in itself. I'm going to talk about patent protection and primarily licensing in its perspective that I would like to give. It's a perspective of from an academician's point of view, since I put in about 5 years as an academician in Indian Institute of looking after the same for looking at the international policy while away government that today's that are taking place that have taken place in the past as well. If you look at this,
just 1 second, I beg your pardon.
This
My 1 second, I beg your pardon.
It gives you a reflection of what I was saying was that this particular slide brings out the patent filings over a period of more than 100 years, 118 years, and maybe the growth rates are changed in position. Coincidence. So initially, when it was in zero, Germany was a major filer as a that point in time, the United States, and you find that that is the period when the US was this changes in 2018 and in 2008 from 2008 onwards as we China can be seen China that they are filing. I mean in the form what Mr. VP Singh said, that the economic value that they applications applications may not be very substantive, and that's because they are very, very weak inventions. But nevertheless, it does show that an innovative society is in some ways associated very to the WTO agreement happened in 1995. That's when the WTO agreement came to being. And as one of the agreements was the trade-related intellectual aspects of intellectual property rights that was also agreed upon by the member countries. What does TRIPS mandate? TRIPS says that if anything, there is any invention which is novel, which is new, which has not been there before, has industrial application and has an inventive step, so there has been an improvement over existing prior art, then you would have a possibility of getting a patent. So that's how a patent is defined under the TRIPS agreement. And it says that a country needs to provide patents to all products and processes. So everything is patentable. All technologies need to patents need to be available for all technologies. And this should be available, patent system should be available without discrimination. Whether the invention happens in the United States or it's happening in India, it is effectively can be patented in any other part of the country if it complies with the definition of the patent. Next slide, please. But at the same time, the TRIPS agreement also specifies that the patent law has to be a territorial law. It is country specific. So if you are seeking a patent in India, your right is protected in India alone. But if you seek a patent in the, and if you, for instance, start trading in the United States or sending your products in the United States, but that is not protected there, it is not going to, your protection does not extend to another country. So it's a country specific right, and it's a right that's given for a certain period of time. It's a right that has been given against sufficient disclosure. So that's an important aspect that patent examiners look at, whether the disclosure is sufficient to explain the invention. This is important for us because as the country grows, it's important to protect our inventions in all our countries that could be candidates for our possible economic interests in terms of our wherever our economic interests lie. And in any case, unless we protect it properly, it is likely to be used in another country where it would not be considered as an infringement. Next slide, please. The other aspect, so now novelty or new, inventive step and industrial application are the three pillars, I would say, that a patent needs to comply, an invention needs to comply with to become a patent. But none of these terms are defined. The TRIPS agreement doesn't define any one of them. Effectively, it allows countries to define it by themselves. And it also says that there is territoriality, which means that if you club the two issues together, it means that the domestic law would apply, and you could then have a patent regime that addresses the domestic requirements of your country. which also means that a patent might be protected in the United States, but it may not be protected in India, because you have a standard that you set which is different from that of the United States in the context of what is novel, what is inventive, and what is amenable for industrial application. Now, some of the exceptions that come up and help us to define some of these terms is the use of the concept of traditional knowledge that is part of our law. Anything which is traditional knowledge section is not patentable. Yes, is not patentable. So the computer programs as such are not patentable. But if the computer programs work with a machine, then and add efficiency to that machine, then that is patentable, as has been now, and also the courts have agreed upon that. Next slide, please. May I have another slide? The next slide, please. So now there are two aspects of the grants that I'm going to pick up here, and which is what we find in the patent applications also. One is that novelty is very critical. So anything at the time of filing, anything that has predated that filing time, all literature, whether it is scientific literature or patent literature, is prior art. Anything that comes before the date of filing is prior art. Next slide, please. And this prior art. So if, for instance, a person decides to, an inventor or maybe a researcher in an institution decides to publish his research, thinking that he could then patent it, subsequently, that research that he publishes, that publication precedes his patent application. If that happens, novelty is taken away from that situation, and he will not be eligible for a patent on an invention that he has made, which might be perfectly inventive, purely because it has been published earlier. In the Indian law, it is not possible for you to get a patent. Now, that's something that should be understood well by all researchers, all startups. As soon as you come up with a research finding which you think is patentable, please file a provisional application so that you can then subsequently do a publication thereafter, and you have 1 year to complete your application from the time you file your provisional applications. That's very important. Some of our inventors are unable to do that, and many of their applications actually fall through because they are not filing a provisional application. And this is very important for the academic institutions also. Next slide, please. The second important thing that I would want to say here is that patent is all about drafting. It's an art. It might be science that you are, it is finally patented. It's an inventive. It's an invention that complies with the requirements for a patent, but it's actually an art to file a patent. And that is something that requires an expert. An expertise is required to file a patent. So you might be the researcher, you might know the ins and outs of inventions, but please do seek professional help to file the patent. And this is realized by the government. Mr. P.P. Singh said, there is a scheme that is available for startups. There is a scheme, this particular scheme has the technology innovation support centers, also knowledge innovation with of them in India. So when you file, that agent that prosecute your case till the very end is available under these schemes, and the fees for this has been fixed. For each step has been fixed, and the fees is to be paid by the Government of India, the Controller General. So they have a list of facilitators. These lists includes patent agents. This list includes lawyers, and if you apply through that, you get their services and they get paid by the government. So please do utilize legal expertise and technical expertise in drafting to draft your patent applications, because that determines whether it is patentable or not, frankly speaking. It's how you draft that invention, how you put that on paper is what will determine whether you get it or not. Next slide, please. Right? I'll finish with that. So next slides, I've done this one. And then you have the Technology Innovation Support Centers. They can do your technology landscaping. They do your commercialization also. In commercialization issues also, they would help you. They would also have some basic knowledge of the law, so they will also help you in addressing any of those aspects that you might face with the Controller General. And for that, CPAM is the national focal point, and there are 6 discs in India. Next slide, please. I'm going to end here because the next segment was on IP and technology transfer. And I think there is no time for that, so I would end here. Basically, my recommendation is that when you file an application, please, when you do research before publication, file a provisional application and seek legal help to file that application. Protect your invention in the countries that you think are more important for you. Do not leave that, because by way of protect, you do not get protection in those countries. That's my summing up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful presentation. And there are a lot of inputs and a lot of good information for our SME and startups colleagues here. May I now request Dr. Nick Rosio to take the floor on IP risk management in unfamiliar territories. Dr. Nick Rosio, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Do you have my slides there, or do I need to share the screen myself? Ah, excellent.
Yes, the slides are there. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm very pleased to be able to present alongside such a distinguished panel of experts from the Indian government and elsewhere. Just a bit of background, I lead a UK consultancy that specialises in supporting and enabling international innovation projects and collaborations between businesses. Before that, I worked in the UK government and I was head of international innovation strategy in the business department. And that's where I first got to know Vimal, who leads Finovista. And we've been working together for a number of years now, different ways of supporting capacity building in innovation and technology transfer within India. And also we are in early discussions on how we can maybe help with the UK-India Tech Hub that's being established at the Royal Albert Dock in London, which is intended to provide a gateway for technology companies to reach foreign markets. So it's a very exciting development for UK-India technology relationships. My presentation is going to focus on offering some practical advice and tips for companies when they're considering entering new markets in terms of the IP related aspects. But actually a lot of what I'm going to say is relevant to you also if you're just operating in your own market. I think it gives a slightly wider perspective on the definition of intellectual property, which is possibly going to be helpful. So next slide, sorry, yes, keep to this slide. So what I want to do, sorry, can you go back one? So that's it, thank you. So this is just setting out the topics I'm going to cover, going from doing a proper audit of your intellectual property and how to prepare for going overseas, how to take a strategic approach, looking outward at the government and legislation, and then deciding whether to going in and possibly dealing with infringement. I'll touch on a couple of case studies as I go through this. So ICE Robotics is a company that makes devices to enable farmers to gather real-time data from cattle, and that enables them to monitor their health and welfare. And they're selling this technology in markets around the world. So it's an interesting case study. Next slide, please. Okay, so when you're thinking about your intellectual property, it's really important as a company or startup to think of that in as wide terms as possible. So really think about what you've got that can be patented, as previous speakers have emphasized, but also think about other things that may not be patentable, designs, logos, your know-how, your research findings, again, that's been touched on, and knowledge that you may want to retain as trade secrets. Once you file a patent, it has become something that's in the public domain, and that has a limited life protection. Whereas if you retain something successfully within your organization, that possibly gives it better protection in some circumstances. So if you go through for each element of your intellectual property, its nature, how central it is to your business, to the business model that you're developing, what its fundamental value is to your business, how easy it would be to copy it if it fell into the wrong hands, and what value it could have in marketing your business. And by looking at it in these terms, you can then identify the importance of protecting it and how much to invest in that protection. You may decide that some things should not be protected. So your options in terms of actions are first to look at how you can compartmentalize different bits of technology within your overall offering. What aspects of your IP should you give away as part of marketing and promoting yourselves? What do you offer an audience when you're giving a presentation, or when you're pitching your service? Which do you file as a patent? Which will you ultimately license or sell? Which do you retain carefully as trade secrets? And then also, in terms of the international dimension, which components of your technology do you retain within your own home market, and which do you allow to operate overseas? And similarly, if you're working with a partner, which would you share with your partner, and which do you keep, again, to yourselves? So these are all kind of key decisions that you make in relation to the different aspects of your IP portfolio. So looking at the images there, this is from the ICE Robotics case study. So they have a setup where they sell these devices to farmers that are then loaded onto attached to their livestock. And then they have a local server within the country they're operating within that gathers the data from these devices. But that then sends the data up into the cloud, and all the processing and all the really sophisticated analysis work goes on back at the HQ. They then are able to automatically generate reports that go to the farmers and enable them to determine if there's any action they need to take. The approach that gives them is the ability to separate out the different elements of their intellectual property to afford themselves greater protection by retaining the key algorithms and the key value add that they bring within their own control. Further to that, the devices themselves, the chips and the complex electronics, which is of greatest value and potential risk to them, is embedded within a resin, and that means that anyone who tries to access that, to open up the device, will inevitably destroy it and not gain value. So there's a number of things that they do, but the graph there just shows that they are very open about their own research findings, the pilots that they've conducted, because that shows the value to the farmer and the increase in yields as a result. So next slide, please. Thank you. So having looked internally at your IP and the approach you want to take to managing that, You should also then look at the environment in which you're operating and you're intending to operate. So if you're looking to go into another country, you need to consider that country's government's aims. What is its agenda in terms of intellectual property, technology transfer? Different countries have very different approaches. China, the US, the UK, they all take a different approach. They're all keen to grow their own technology and to welcome technologies into the country. But some have a more protectionist approach, some are more open. So you need to understand that. And if you can find a good opportunity to connect well with that government's activities or aims and build strong links with the government, then that will give you greater protection against companies that might seek to take advantage of you. Clearly, as we're learning today, there's a lot of support that your own government gives you. You should take advantage of that, including in-country support from embassies and high commissions. They will often have a lot of expertise about the local environment and have publications about the IP landscape. It's particularly important to really understand the framework within which each country defines the different components of the IP landscape. So how are patents defined? What types of patents are there? What is eligible to be registered as a patent in that country? Again, has been alluded to, India has a distinct approach. Other countries will have their own approach, and you need to take legal advice on that to really make sure you understand it and understand what components of your intellectual property are eligible for patenting or for other forms of protection. Clearly, software-related solutions may or may not be available for protection in that way. But beyond IP legislation, there will also be other areas of legislation that will be relevant. And as you're developing your approach to protecting your IP, which may include how you handle your staff, you need to understand those wider legal aspects. So contract law, labor contract laws will be relevant as well. So taking a thorough view of understanding the relevant legislation is important to enable you to build a strategic approach to protecting your IP. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you get to the point where you've done a lot of analysis, you've really understood the risks, you understand the measures that you can put in place to manage those risks, and then you need to decide whether you're going to go in or not. And it's important that you do make a conscious decision, that you don't just sort of assume that you need to go somewhere without thinking all this through. So you need to have properly prepared and then look at what is the opportunity. It may be that the opportunity is so substantial and that you're able to continue to develop your products rapidly enough that the risks are manageable, that you feel that the opportunities are worth the risks. And you need to think about different risk scenarios. So what would happen if a company were to secure access to your technology or to one part of your technology? What would that mean to your business? How would you respond to that? Would you have the resources to actually take that to the courts, or would it not be viable for you if you're a small company? Would you simply have to walk away? So thinking that through, thinking about how that would actually play out, it may be that in some cases a certain amount of loss is manageable. Clearly, finding organisations that can really help you with this in the country are really important. And I think having a partner that you feel you can trust in the country is often a key enabler. So finding that right partner, spending time to explore different partners is critical. I'll come onto that shortly. And then often, while the CEO or the technical director or the international marketing director of your company may be very keen to enter a new market, this should be scrutinized by your board, by your senior leadership team, and they should be challenging you to ensure that you have thought this through and that the opportunities are worth the risk, and that you're selecting your markets accordingly. So ICE Robotics, who we've worked with, has worked in many countries, and we were helping them to assess the opportunities to go into China. The board was very cautious and would not let them enter without a very robust approach. And fundamentally, the problem that they had with China was that what we refer to as the Chinese firewall meant that they couldn't operate their separation of local data routing and overseas processing of the data. There was strict controls over what data can be exported from China, and they're still looking at how to address that. But they've managed to get into other markets where it's been a more flexible approach. Okay.
Can you please speed up?
Yes, I'm just final slide. So next slide, please. Thank you. So once you're in the country, there's a number of things. You can look at your IP management again in broad terms, in terms of how you manage the people within the country. It's very important that they all understand the importance of your IP and that you're very clear about that, and how you document that approach. Again, as I said, partnership working is key. Developing trust in your partner and basically finding partners that share your long-term aims, that will benefit on a win-win basis from your growth and your success, sharing access to markets, complementary sharing of technologies. Christech Pharma is a company that we've worked with that has successfully entered the Chinese market. It's a pharmaceutical company, and they collaborate with a number of Chinese partners to enhance their products by bringing their specialist expertise. But they're very careful, again, to separate out the different elements of the manufacturing of their products so that no one partner or body that they work with has the whole package and can exploit that commercially. Last slide, please. Thank you. A few quick points about infringements. Just to be aware that there are a number of options. You don't have to immediately take companies to the court, and it's definitely worth thinking about those through carefully to determine your best course of action and where that might lead to. I won't go into more detail than that. It's quite a lot there. But last slide then. So thanks very much for listening. We will be sharing a small checklist to help you to cover the points that we covered here, and obviously we'd be more than happy to talk to companies that are looking for the support in this area. I think a key point is that we can introduce you to IP specialists who understand the legal landscape in a number of countries, particularly UK, Europe, and China, if that's useful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, for the wonderful insights and presentation which you gave. You opened the window for opportunities for SME and startups and what they need to see. So may I now request the next speaker, Mr. Jayesh Ponikrishnan, who will speak on IP regime in India and CSIR patents and schemes for startups in MSME. We are running late by around 15-20 minutes. May I request him to stick to his time, please. Mr. Jayesh, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. If you have my presentation, you can have it. Otherwise, you can give me the screen sharing option. So, I would like to start by telling about CSIR. I'm heading the legal division of CSIR. I'm a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court. I'm an advocate on record. So, I have around 18 years of experience, 11 years in private practice, and the last 7 years I'm in CSIR. So, do you have my slide, or basically what I was trying to tell you is I will just start with telling about CSIR. CSIR is the largest network of research laboratories in the country, perhaps in the world also, as the number is concerned. The largest public funded research organization. The purpose of this organization, which in fact predates India, it started in 1942, is to connect the industry with the core research that we make. So basically, this is the intention is to have the research that we make to be brought to common man and to be taken to the grassroots through private and other sectors. So then I will tell you about the intellectual property regime in India, which almost has been discussed here. I will just the right side of the screen tells you about the history of developments, the legal regime that we have. we had the patent acts, then when India joined WTO and all those things. What is the important thing is that the concept of intellectual property after the TRIPS agreement, there is an international consensus with regard to the definition of the intellectual property. Now, only thing is that the amount of domestic control or the domestic protection that you give is still a little bit disputable issue. We have the WTO mechanism for resolving that. So that is that slide. Then I will just tell you what are the present statistics of patent filing of CSIR. You can see the number of patents filed in India, filed in abroad. So these are the last 3 years statistics are there. This is just to tell you that how much we are involved in this patent and translating these ideas, innovative ideas into patent and make it available for common man through our outreach programs and even through funded programs. I will just want you to look into the some of the landmark cases that has happened in our system in India, and it was being spearheaded by CSIR. Because as it is said, we cannot forget our history. History always gives you a scope to go to the future. So 3 cases I will just discuss. One is the famous turmeric case, in which the therapeutic use of turmeric or the haldi, that was like, it was, even though it was patented, it was first patented in US in 1995. We could challenge it. We could get that patent quashed by the point of telling that it's a traditional knowledge that we had, and this turmeric is part of the Indian system. So another one is the basmati rice, which was primarily grown in India. It was taken to US, and 2 patents in the name of Tasmadi and Taxmadi was initially granted to RiceTech, and this was successfully challenged, and we could save that also. The third one, which is not in the slide, that is the recent case of Novartis, which is regard to drug. It is liver, the cancer drug. That was it was again patented even after the term of 20 years, applying the concept of evergreening of patents. That was challenged in the Indian system, before the Indian Patent Office. Indian Patent Office said that it amounts to evergreening and it was not allowed. Ultimately, that was upheld by the Supreme Court. So these 3 cases are, according to me, sort of landmark cases as far as patents are concerned, patent regime in India is concerned. And in these 3 cases, 2 of them, CSIR intervention was very much clearly there. Then, and now we will come to the present aspect with regard to MSMEs. What all things we are doing for MSMEs, or what all schemes we have for MSMEs. Basically, what we do is we handhold MSMEs so that they can take our technology and convert it to market ready and make it available in the market. But there are certain categories of doing that about technology transfer, and these categories are being explained in the slide. First one is there's a non-exclusive basis when a lot of others can also be given the technology, but what you can do is you can get protection by using your brand name and getting it registered. So the technology will be of CSIR. It will be given to you on a non-exclusive basis. Then MSMEs or startups can take benefit of that. Then another one is exclusive basis. Exclusive basis is equivalent to transferring perhaps the whole rights. So the royalty, etc., will be, the structure will be a little different. Then the other category is the technology will be given to the company, and it will be developed as a co-developing activity. It will be a collaborative basis project. Then another model is every MSC can own the rights, technology, and it comes as a collaborative project of CSIR. So this is allowed, and we have our sister clubs can take concerns like the National Research Development Company, NRDC, and this DSIR is our parent department. So they are also having a lot of schemes with regard to helping MSMEs and startups for taking the technologies that has been generated in our laboratories and to commercialize it and to bring it to markets. So we support them. Another scheme is the New Millennium Industrial Development Scheme in Italy. That scheme is a DSIR scheme in that we give soft loans to entities, to private entities, and these private entities will be the industrial partner. Some of our laboratories will be the institutional partner. Then the research can be done in the laboratories, and these private entities will be given soft loans to set up their own research equipment and to start this commercializing this technology. and this soft loans has to be repaid without interest and all once this technology is brought into the market. So this is a way of funding, and this scheme is also very prevalent, very popular. In these the schemes that have been mentioned, another one scheme is this scheme for MSME, which is primarily done by the DSIR. 50 lakh rupees is the maximum funding that can be given under this. So this is given to organizations, institutions like registered society or trust, which are a legal entity and who have a good track record of say 3 years of having in returns and all those things. After looking into that, this benefits will be granted to them. So these are the general schemes that we are having. Then another point is we have incubation centers associated with our laboratories, which I told you in the first slide. These are our laboratories. So in different parts of the country, we have laboratories, and these laboratories, there are incubation centers where startups and MSMEs can join with our scientists and have collaboration and come out with products which are beneficial for the grassroots level people and for the industry. Some of our products are in very prevalent in the market. One is the drug which controls the blood sugar level, by research by our Lucknow laboratory. Another one is a drug for this arthritis, which has come from our laboratory in the Northeast. Then recently we are seriously into this corona vaccine and testing kits. So a lot of research are going on. Even Nuclear scheme, it was informed, it was invited to our website for public participation, and there was a huge response. And we have allotted certain scheme in military. We have allotted projects to them, and hopefully these projects are also coming in a very good manner. So we are hopeful that at least testing kits we have developed, that is also coming to market very quickly, and vaccine research for vaccine is also going on. But not only that, even things like solar energy, using solar energy, we have some solar rickshaw, like it is for the cycle rickshaws. To avoid the manpower, we have put solar energy, and this is there. Then there is smoke control vehicle that also one of our laboratories has developed. So what we do is, we don't make these technologies, we don't convert it into the real product. For that we require associates from the industry and from the startups and MSMEs. So that can be the way that we are doing. And you can get more information in our website, CSIR website. And if you go to the CSIR website, then you will be connected with all the laboratories that we are having. So this is what I wanted to tell you, and I'm open to questions. Thank you. Hopefully I have adhered to the time limit.
Thank you, Mr. Jayesh. It was very nice listening to you and the kind of opportunities with the SMEs and the startups have with CSIR, with the core development or licensing or getting funding from them. I now request another speaker from the MSME on funding schemes of MSME, Mr. Satish Kumar. Mr. Satish Kumar.
Today I am going to cover the few schemes for the startup and MSME and what are incentives and support programs available for the startup and MSME. So what these startups and MSME need to do, they require to register with the Ministry of MSME, to the MSME Ministry. Am I audible? Hello, I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
So, what they require to be registered with the Ministry of MSME. They are looking for some MSME incentives. So recently, from the 1st July 2020 onwards, we have revised the definition of MSME, and that is based on the composite criteria, that is investment in plant and machinery equipment and their annual turnover. So if they are having investment in plant and machinery not more than 1 year, and their annual turnover is up to rupees 5 crore, so we call them micro unit. Similarly, 10 crore to 50 crore, that is for the small units. And similarly, for the last, for medium enterprises, they are having investment in plant and machinery up to 50 crore, and their turnover is not beyond 250 crore. So they are medium enterprises. So based on these investment and in plant and machinery and the turnover criteria, we have defined revised the definition. So so all these units who are looking for these MSME benefits, they are required to register with the Ministry of MSME. So now we have completely online registration. So what they require to visit our website, that is udyamregistration.gov.in. Once they visit, they will get a single registration form, and that is completely fully online, paperless, and based on self-declaration. So you don't require to upload any kind of document in, proof as a proof of your industry. Only required to have a Aadhaar number, and that is good enough for the registration. So that is mandatory for these all the units looking for this MSME registration certificate. Those who are already registered, since we require a definition, they require to re-register with the same website. So that is the MSME certificate is valid for this financial year from the 1st April 2020 onwards. Their certificate ceased to be registered, ceased to register. So they require to register. So this is the registration process, and this is a sample. So such kind of certificate they will receive as an MSME. Similarly, for the startup entities, if they are qualifying the 3 criteria, they will have the startup certificate. So number one, the age of the startup. So the age of the entity for the date of incorporation should not exceed 10 years. So the maximum age of the startup is 10 years. So secondly, their turnover not exceeding 100 years from any of the financial year from its incorporation. So during this 10-year period, their turnover should not exceed the 100 year in any financial year. Thirdly, they should bring some kind of new technology, some kind of innovation in the process of services they are providing. So such kind of business model they should have. If meet these 3 criteria, they may register for the startup certificate. So for the startup registration, they have to visit the website, that is startupindia.gov.in. When they visit, they will on the left hand side they will get the icon of the startup recognition. So they can fill in this form. Here they require to submit 2 documents. So they should keep ready in PDF form. Number one, their certificate of incorporation as an LLP or limited liability company. And secondly, they should have a write-up about what kind of innovation they are bringing to the market. So these 2 documents they should have available with them, and they are registering for the startup certificate. So maximum in 3 days time, they may have the startup registration certificate by registering with this website. So now we're covering what are incentives available. So their independent office provides lots of certificates, lots of incentives and rebates when they're filing the application. So for the MSME, there are 50% reduction in government fees for patent-related fees. So if, as the BPC sir said, that there is a rebate on online filing also. So generally, when you are physically filing your patent application, you require to government fees is 8,800. If you are filing your online application, so on through online route, it is 8,000 only. If you are having this MSME certificate, so there is a 50% rebate. So 4,400 is only for physical filing, and 4,000 rupees for online filing of your patent application. So these are the discounted for the MSME. Similarly, for the design registration for other entities, it is 4,000. For MSME and startup, it is just 1,000 rupees. Then there is also rebate for the trademark. So if you are physically filing your trademark application, that is 10,000. 10% discount will be provided for online filing. That is, it will be 9,000 rupees. If you are having this MSME certificate, so physical filing it is 50% rebate. So 5,000 will be the charge for the physical filing of government fees, and 4,500 for online filing. So this is a rebate on the trademark on government fees. Similarly, for the startup, there is a 80% rebate in the filing the patent application. So for physical filing, already earlier I told that 8,800 is here, and for online filing is 8,000. For startup, it is 1,600 for online filing, and physical filing is 1,750. So 80% rebate is there when the startup is having this certificate and filing online their application. So that is the criteria of government fees for startup and MSMEs. So they are discounted. SME scheme already discussed here, so I will give you how they can avail these benefits under this SME scheme. This is a DPIT scheme for the startup. So under the scheme, they have empaneled more than 800 registered patent attorneys and IP professionals. So they provide all kind of professional service regarding filing your patent, writing your claims, and drafting your patents, trademark, design. So what you require to do, you require to just contact these empaneled attorneys, and your application get filed, and all kind of professional services available through these registered panel attorneys. So all their costs, whatever the professional charges incurred, it is reimbursed to them by the DPIT. So how you can avail the benefit? So you require to visit startup.india.gov.in website, where you find the list of the facilitator for patent, for design, for trademark. You can visit and you will get all about their details, their office contact number, email IDs. So if you're having that startup certificate, you can show them your startup certificate and avail and take these all professional services at free of cost. So next scheme I'm covering, that is a scheme, MSME scheme. So there are basically three components under the MSME scheme. The first level, we create lots of awareness programs and workshop to sensitize MSME about how the IP tools can be used, and developing their business through the use of IP. So that we are doing. Second level, we have set up various IP facilitation centers across the country. At present, we are having more than 90 IP facilitation centers. Recently, also we have converted our development institute. That is our state. Our offices, several offices in the states. So our several offices in the state, we have converted them into IP facilitation centers. So here, the every MSME units looking for kind of IP assistance, they may contact these IP facilitation centers. Third level, we have reimbursement scheme. So I will discuss that scheme in my next slide. So what are the services available through these IP facilitation centers? So this is all services in a single roof. So they provide all kind of general information and patent, trademark, design, GIs. They conduct some kind of activities like IP clinics. So when the industry people are visiting, so they are aware about how these IP registration actually generating huge business to them, and so all kind of information provided to them through IP clinics, awareness, or such kind of workshop and seminar programs. So they also check your patent status, whether the patent is valid or expired. They conduct 2 minutes. So the interpretation of the report, so they provide all the drafting, filing of the patent, trademark, all kind of IP drafting and filing services as well. They provide all kind of opinion and likelihood whether your patent will be granted or not. All kind of guidance, or country-wise, field-wise, technology mapping, infringement analysis. So if you are getting any objection from the patent office, so they are responding on behalf of the applicant in the patent office. So all kind of services available to this IP facilitation center. So there is a point where from you can get from consultation to IP commercialization through these IP facilitation centers. So next component of the scheme of covering, that is a reimbursement scheme. So we have a reimbursement component of the MSME scheme, ITS scheme of the MSME. So if you are having an Indian patent granted to you, so there is a financial support of 1 lakh rupees is available. If you file some international filing with them, so per international patent in country-wise, we provide 5 lakh rupees of the financial assistance. For geographical indication, we have financial support of rupees 2 lakh. And for if you are having a trademark, per class registered trademark, we have 10,000 rupees of financial support. So how you can avail financial support? So you require to visit our website, that is my.msme.gov.in. Once you visit it, another portal, you will get the icon IPR MSME. When you visit the IPR MSME, you will get IPR reimbursement MSME, and further you will or choose the kind of IP you have, whether it's a patent, trademark, and GI. So you choose, you fill your application. Basically, 4 documents are required, which you need to upload when you're filing your reimbursement application. Once you should have a MSME registration certificate. Second, your grant of IP, grant of patent, trademark, GI certificate. Third is you should have a bank mandate form, since this money electronically directly transferred to the applicant account. And fourth, you should have a scanned copy of bills and vouchers claiming and certifying your claim against the patent or trademark or GI. So these 4 documents, if you keep writing and you are applying for this reimbursement scheme, so once we receive the application, we directly transfer this money to the applicant account. So this is about the IP reimbursement scheme for the MSME. In case you require more detail about these schemes, so that is available on our website, that is dcmsme.gov.in. to this visiting this website under the IPS scheme, you can avail all the information about this reimbursement and list of these IP Facilitation Centers. All the scheme is available there. So thank you. That's from my side. I hope this information is informative for the all the participants.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Satish Kumar, for a very informative and very detailed presentation with a lot of support, which is MSME is providing to the startups and SME funding support. So now we'll go to the last speaker for today, Dr. A.K. Garg from Scientist F and HOD in MIT. He'll speak about the funding schemes of MIT. Dr. Garg, the floor is yours. And I apologize for
Can you
for this. Thank you.
share? Can you share my slides, please? Topic of innovation and startups and IPR. So let me take the context in which we are here today. If you understand, the Ministry of Electronics and IT is there to promote ICT trade and ICT ecosystem in the country. Whereas DOT provides the infrastructure, we try to ride on that infrastructure to provide content on that infrastructure to take the country forward. The humongous efforts made under the BharatNet and other efforts of the DOT has been spurred us to the fact that we now want to move the IT-ITS industry, which is around $180 billion, to the next level, where innovation becomes the integral part of ICT ecosystem and thereby start contributing at least 35 to 40% of the total IT business and 20% of the $5 trillion economy that we envisage by 2025 to be digital. That's a very large task. That's a very ambitious targets that the government of India has put to itself into. And what they have done in this regard is that they first came up with the two set of policies. One, the national policy on software products, and two, the national policy on electronics. The focus of both these policies is to actually create a strong innovation ecosystem to build innovative software products coming out of India, and also to have a greater impact of value-added innovations in our electronic manufacturing system as it goes forward, whereas it's in a very nascent stage, but we have very ambitious targets to ramp it up, and innovation will form a key integral part of it. These were the two policies that the government of India came in 2019. At the same time, DOT came with the national policy on telecommunications or digital and digital communication. And these three policies can together, if entwined and taken as a concrete strategy, to take the Indian ecosystem forward. In that regard, in that what we did is that how do we build an innovation ecosystem in the tech space? The tech space wants a much deeper support from the government, from the systems, from the existing industry. And one of the important aspects of a tech system is that it has to ride on certain initial innovations that had happened. It has to ride on, if IoT is there, let's understand that IoT will only become a big reality if 5G is there in India. If you want AI, you want a strong data analytics infrastructure of data repositories in India for AI related innovation to succeed. So these are some of the basic ingredients that are there, whereas we have been trying to build infrastructures. What we did is also we established a number of incubators around the country to specifically target deep tech innovation. The first set of such innovation centers, next slide. So what we did is we came up with a large array of policies that can actually support the startup ecosystem. The first policy that we came up with was a technology incubation and development of entrepreneurs, where there we have established 51 technology incubators at institutes of higher learning and research. The whole idea is that to promote tech entrepreneurship, we use the background research and infrastructure of these institutes of higher learning and research, We use the established incubation facilities that are there in these incubation facilities as part of the infrastructure, and we provide them the support for mentorships, for strengthening their tech-related activities in terms of seed funds, in terms of go-to-market funds, and the array of supports that we provide them under the tech content. These are 51 incubators divided into a 3-tier structure so that the very, very established incubators can support the upcoming incubators to mature at a much faster rate as compared to what they would have done individually. The scheme is of 264 crores, hopes to support 2,000 tech startups in the country in the next 4 to 5 years. The second scheme that we came up with was around, on strengthening the STPI infrastructure that is there to move it from providing services support to deep tech incubation support. Government of India and the state government together have come around with 5 lakh square feet of incubation space in the 60 STPI centers around the country. These are, whereas 12 of them are in the tier 1 of the major metros, rest of them are in tier 2 and tier 3 states. So this is an incubation space scheme, space that is spread around it. Now, on top of this incubation space, which we actually is provided at a much subsidized rate to the incubators, we also provide them with a number of policies, a number of center of excellences that we have established in STPI in various centers, whether it's a fintech accelerator at Chennai, the automobile electronic accelerator center of excellence at Pune, ARVR at Bhubaneswar, and these are the center of excellences that we have established around in STPI. In addition to that, we have come up with the next generation incubation scheme for STPI, where we hope to support 300 deep tech software product startups in our journey in the next 3 years. The first challenge for selection of the set of companies or the set of startups to be supported under the next generation incubation scheme in STPI is ready to come out. The Honorable Minister will be launching it very soon, and we will be selecting through a challenge called the Spinoff. The third thing is that with industry bodies and with other players with established industry and with established non-tech industry, we have come up with center of excellence. Whether it's so, what we have done is that we have established 27 center of excellences around it. These are top of the what DOT is established around 5G and IoTs and other things, and we actually work very closely with them in these center of excellences have a basic theme where we use technology for solving problems of other economic sectors, be it agriculture, be it automobile, be it meditech, any other sector of economy is supported by these 29 center of excellence. Now, let's understand this is the tech incubation ecosystem cannot be placed at one place in the country where startup can get everything and anything. He needs laboratories, he needs testing facilities, he needs a mentor pool, he needs investments, he needs venture capital, he needs angels, and all that. So what we have done is we have created a mighty startup hub, which actually integrates all these together into a single body and provide interlinkages between these. The mighty startup hub.in is a single window facility that Government of India has created for end-to-end or integrating the whole tech startup ecosystem. already we have around 2,000 startups that are deep tech startups that are there, around 400 incubators, and around 300 very, very mature mentors that are part of this. In addition, we have 22 MOUs with large companies, be it Indian or MNCs, which actually partner with us to support these tech startups. Recently, Qualcomm came up with an acceleration program where they are supporting 12 Indian deep tech companies for the next cohort. Now, after this, the challenge in India, what we look at is that we have the talent, we have the capacity to create deep tech solutions. We have the capacity to create solutions which go beyond the solutions created in the Silicon Valley. What we need is two things. How do we convert them into large commercial gains? For that, we understand there are two things. There is a gap between what an incubator provides and how a company is ready for a venture capitalist to give him a stage 1 or a stage 2 funding. So we need a series of accelerators in the country which solve the business management activities, which give them a market access from converting these solid ideas into large companies. And we have established 3 accelerators, one in Bangalore, one in D-Hub, Hyderabad, and one on fintech in Mumbai. And these are the accelerators which are beyond incubators and which will support these companies to become from successful product demonstrators to successful large companies. Above it, what you also require is a huge support for intellectual property rights monetization. This country has a series of very, very well qualified lawyers. This country has a capacity to create IP, but this country does not have a capacity to translate IP into IPRs and IPRs into commercial gains. This is the problem what we are trying to solve. We think that Indian IP should be a global benchmark. Indian IP should be a standard for the world. And so we support startups and MSMEs with a scheme called the Support for International Patent in Electronic and IT, where we provide 50% of the reimbursement cost for international filing to a maximum of 15 lakh rupees per patent. We also have a Center of Excellence on ICT IPS, where we provide them prior art search support. We provide them consultancy for the queries on management issues of IP. We have a series of workshops and roundtables with companies, basically with an idea that how do you better commercialize your IP. We have partners with us. One of them will be on Monday, where we have brought in a very mature company to actually educate people on our mighty startup partners on how do we convert or take commercial gains out of your IP. And these are some of the efforts. In the last 1 year, we have conducted more than 40 workshops, and we don't do it ourselves. We get partners and we support them financially. And that's the model that we use. So these are some of the activities. I know that we are actually we are already delayed. So this is an overview. I'll ask the organizations to share my presentation. And if you have any more queries, you can reach out to me either through the email or through the Mighty Startup Hub. You're welcome to get yourself registered and be part of this tech community under the Mighty Startup Hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garg, for wonderful presentation, and I'm sure this scheme is definitely helpful for the audience. With this note, we really thank you. And I talked quickly about the Finovista. So Finovista project management company. We will be happy to support the companies as well as the government. We are already empaneled with the CSIR for licensing, so providing the licensing support to them and various activities which we are doing. And we really thank you the speakers as well as the partners who have supported and made it happen. And during the registration process, we have also asked the delegates to suggest what are the topics you want to hear the next webinar. And I'm happy to share that more than 60% of the people wanted to hear more on the say opportunity for R&D funding, technology support, funding for their startup. And we are also planning to organize the funding for tech ventures, and dates will be announced shortly. And then some of the questions, since we are already running very late, so some of the questions we will be taking one-to-one, and then somebody have asked this MSME scheme. Yes, it is also a single portal with My MSME. And other person has asked that is there reimbursement? Yes, MSME scheme is under the reimbursement mode. And with this note, I am requesting Mr. Pathak to have to take it forward and say thank you, everybody.